Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Crimsonpanda here with another episode of Mercenary Meta. Now, it's taken a couple of weeks to get another one of these videos out. Now, the reason for that is because of patch 23.0. I wanted to wait a week before I did one of these videos because I wanted to see if the new patch would have any impact on the meta at all, so that we had something different to talk about other than Frost. And boy, did it. So let's head straight over to HS replays and see what data they've collected over the last week, thanks to you guys using the deck tracker. So as you can see here on the tier list, this has already changed a substantial amount. So I've filtered it to popularity, a minimum of 200 games, and we have Kazagus at the top now. No longer was any of the Frost Mercs up here. So we have no Valera, who isn't a Frost but is obviously used in the Frost builds. We have no Varden, no Janers. We do still have Localar up here, but Localar is still a solid mercenary that is seeing a little bit of play, especially over the last couple of days or two with the Trigore meta that has kicked in. So for those of you who don't know, Trigore is a mercenary that got buffed with the new patch notes, and his backlash ability, so this one here, which reads deal 5 damage each time an enemy damages an adjacent minion, it just triggers endlessly if an adjacent minion is damaged by one of your opponent's minions, which turns out is a ridiculous ability now. Reason for that, Kazagus being able to spawn golems. This also helps with the backlash with Trigore. You can summon rush minions that get a guaranteed proc. You can summon taunt minions to get a guaranteed proc. And it's just insane, which is why Kazagus is up here as well, because there is a lot of different comps that is running Trigore, that's running Kazagus, that's running Diablo even. You know, there is a lot of stuff that has changed over the last week. So with that being said, let's head over and check out the parties. So we've got the MMR range at all players at the moment. We will filter it as we go on. So as you can see now, the game sample size has gotten a lot bigger, thanks to you guys using the HS Replays deck tracker. And look at the state of this top one. So this one is being used quite a lot by the looks of it. So most games played, very decent win rate. So we have Kazagus with Wildvine, we have Trigore with Razorclaw, and we have Diablo with Black Soulstone. Now the reason for this opener is because Trigore is going to backlash, Kazagus is going to summon Mercs, or Golems, sorry, and then that is then going to help Diablo get more health, as well as triggering Trigore, as well as getting stuff in the bank for their bench, which is the Shadow Savannahs. And then Karen's in there just in case one of these guys die off. Obviously your Trigore is going to be punished straight away. They're going to try their hardest to get rid of him because he is the one that is the threat at the moment. And then Karen's going to come in and be able to use him with Diablo, which was already broken back in the day, which is coming back into play a little bit more now. And then you have your Vol'jin for Ring of Haste, Death Volley and Savannahs for that late game. Now, the fun thing about Diablo with this build is that he can attack into a Trigore and slow it down for the next turn. So there's no turn 2 backlash going up against you, which turns out to be really, really important. Trigore, 9 times out of 10, people are either going to want to kill it turn 1, which have to sacrifice their entire comp completely and go full Shadow, or they just run Diablo and they just punch it with a 6 speed, and then the next turn it just dies from the Trigore procs that they then do on you, which is really fun. We do have a Frost build up here. This is because of the games played, I guess. So it's got the most amount of games played other than this new Trigore one. So Jaina, Varden, Localar, we've seen this 100 million times. I'm not going to go into it too much. And then just below that, look at all this Trigore coming through. So we've got a Valera, Trigore, Kazagus. And then this is running a Shadow bench because of all of the summons with Kazakus. And then a Thrall for those that are running Sinestra still, that if you are going up against Frost, Sinestra is going to be in that back line, like you can see just here. And Thrall really does work on that. It also kills the Savannahs off as well if they're trying to do a 7 speed, increase her attack, and you've already got Thrall out. Thrall's coming in at 6 speed, dealing 80 damage to her. So if there's no cookie, this is going to get killed off, which is really good. It could gain more health if there was something else put into the comp, but at the moment there isn't. So as you can see, we're seeing a lot of diversity with the Trigore. So we've got a Belinda Trigore comp here. We have Kazagus with Galvagar. You know, it's basically pick one that you like and then stick with it for a little while, see if you find anything that it can counter, or if something's countering you quite a lot, then maybe switch out a few things. But Trigore is definitely the mercenary to be playing at the moment before they nerf it, which I assume they'll do fairly soon. Maybe they'll change it to like his ability is going to then proc like once per adjacent minion, so that won't change it too much, but at least it'll change it a little bit. So Kazaga summons a golem, it procs once, then Galvagar hits, it procs once, but then if they hit into it, it's not going to proc again, maybe something like that. We do have a dragon nature here that's still showing a lot of games being played. Obviously the win rate has dropped a hell of a lot with that one. Okay, oh, this is one of my favorites. Without the Yulong, this one here with the nature backline. For those of you who don't know what the nature backline is, it's Longzin, Torande, and Millhouse, sometimes Cookie, depending on how you feel about Millhouse. Now, you use Nefarian. He is going to be summoning dragons. You got Trigore, who is a beast. So once those two die, plus the dragon spawns, it's going to buff Yulong's Band of Bursting Novas by a huge amount. Obviously, Yulong being in there is a dragon. I actually prefer King Mukla. That's my favorite comp at the moment because you have two more beasts instead of just the one dragon. And you also have the taunt in order to proc with Trigore. I know this guy can taunt, but it seems a little bit slower in my opinion. But it isn't attacking with his first ability, so I could see the upside of using this one. So the Band of Bursting Novas is going to gain a stupid amount of arcane damage. And then once you bring all three of these in, or even just Yulong and Torande, you do so much damage, especially with Torande's new Arcane Slavo. It's attacking two mercenaries at once for like 34 damage. And then if anything dies, which that's 68 damage to a blue, which is probably already weak, it's going to go again. And then obviously Millhouse is going to be getting a massive arcane buff as well, so using the arcane explosion, dealing about 23 to 30 damage with the Yulong's buff. It just does a stupid amount of damage, being able to kill off almost anything really. I've gone 3 versus 5 with just this nature backline once my my Trigore start has died off, and it's incredible. It's my favorite one so far, which is why I think there's a little bit of arcane resistance on some of these Mercs passive abilities, because this was going to be a threat. So if any of you haven't played a Yulong, Torande, or Millhouse comp, I suggest you do that straight away, because this is another possible nerf. I know they don't like nerfing stuff in Mercenaries, but they're going to bring stuff in to counter it, so play it while there isn't that much counter in it. Okay, so let's go up and change the MMR range here. So we're going to change it to the top 10, because I know that's what you guys really want to see. So as you can see here, the win rate, it is Kazagos, Trigore, Diablo. This is obviously from a previous week, so this is the week just gone, so the meta is constantly evolving, but this is the data we have so far. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 variants on the Trigore comp, all at the top of the meta, within the top 10, 7,900 plus rating. So basically choose your favorite, what you have maxed out, what you have in your equipment, basically what you have in your collection, sorry. So if you don't have Valera, for example, then you just use the Diablo comp. If you don't have the Diablo, you just use the Galvagar. You know, there's a lot of options, and obviously these are all the ones running Shadow and Sylvanas, but I do prefer the Arcane. So hopefully I'll scroll down here and see if I can find one with the Arcane. It's a very new comp, so it's not going to have a lot of games played. Let's filter it to games. So we got here, look, again, Trigore only 210, but it's running full Shadow. We're using Gruul to counter any of the Dragon lineups. Very interesting. Okay, I can't see anywhere where the nature of the Arcane bench is. Maybe they don't play it in top 10. I certainly do, so I'm going to scroll until I find it. So here we are. It's just this one here that is showing anything up on this website at the moment. But like I said, you are able to switch out Yulong for King Mukla. I know a lot of you are going to have King Mukla max now because it's one of the old mercenaries. I prefer that build 100%, but you can also sub out Millhouse for Cookie, like I said. So we've got Nefarian, who is running spare parts on this one. I actually run the I don't run the spare parts because I don't want to restore health. I need my stuff to die. I think I use his second equipment. I can't off the top of my head remember what that is. Trigore obviously using Razor Claw, using Backlash, getting a buff. This is using Pearl, so your dragons take less damage. I could see why that works, but I prefer Mutla with the big brother. And then we've got Bursting Bands of Nova. Tyrande is using Arcane Slavo damage, and Millhouse is using Arcane Explosion. So that is probably my favourite comp to play with the substitution from Yulong to King Mutla. Okay, so here is a comp that's running the Nature Bench with Cookie, and is also running King Mutla, but instead of running the Nefarian for the dragon summons, they're actually running Rexar, which also gives 4/4 to beasts, which is great. And also he has the companion summon, which is kind of like the dragon summon, but instead of attacking, you're just going to get them summoned no matter what, which is very good, very fun. I haven't personally tried the Rexar version out myself. I'm too involved with the Nefarian one, but definitely give this one a go. This is, as I say, running the nature backline, but instead of running Millhouse, they're running Cookie, which I 100% agree with. Now, the reason I agree with this is because Cookie can summon a fish at 4 speed. Tyrande is going to come in with an Arcane Slavo at 5 speed, and then on 2 speed, we have the Starfire, which is going to give us more increased arcane damage. It's 9 times out of 10, hopefully, always hit the Cookie summon, which is going to get the kill. So Tyrande's Arcane Slavo is always going to go off twice at 34 damage. So it's going to kill the fish, either deal damage to them or heal you, and then go again, hopefully killing off another thing, and then going again and finishing up the board. And then this 3 combo here, there's no real cooldown threat. So you can always use the Arcane Slavo every single turn. Plus you can decide on if you want to do a massive Celestial or if you want to try and protect Tyrande. So it's a very, very good bench where you don't have to wait a turn to do the big stuff. You can do it almost every single turn. So this is the comp that I'm using at the moment on ladder. This is the one that I find most efficient. So we're using King Mutla with Big Brother. We're using Trigore with Razor Claw. Nefarian with start of game, give friendly dragons 5 attack, which is going to give our Longzin a little bit more of a threat against attacking mercenaries. And we have Longzin with Band, Tyrande with the Arcane Slavo deals more, and then we are running Millhouse with the Greater Arcane Missiles, always targets the lower Merc. So it's really good because the Greater Arcane Missiles does a substantial amount of damage, managing to go 3 times or even 4 times if you queue it up with Grace is really fun. It doesn't happen very often because the Arcane Slavo is just too good with the Arcane buff. But when it does happen, it's really good, especially if you're against like a 3-on-1 and you know you can get that off. It's definitely fun. This is probably the most efficient one I've played, so definitely give this one a go. But then don't forget to check out through the video and then choose one you like and use it before Trigore gets nerfed. So that's about it for this video. I hope you guys have liked this version of Hearthstone Mercenaries Meta, and I will see you in the next video.